Hey everyone! For this video, I'm trying a fairly original concept. This is a game you can participate in. Throughout the video, there will be anecdotes about people's biggest secrets. Among these anecdotes is one that is mine. Try your luck in the comments, but be careful, you only have the right to one try. I'll pin the first one who finds it. Good luck! My dad's friend opened a sports bar. My dad is pretty good at faking signatures, and he gave the guy a signed Joe Namath picture as a gift for opening the bar. The guy has proudly displayed it in his bar for 20 years, and it's a real crowd pleaser as the bar is in Pittsburgh where everyone loves Joe. I nearly murdered a person with a bow and arrow. I was in the forest with my friends and I stole my dad's bow and arrow and I wanted to learn how to use it. My friends were telling me to fire the arrow in the sky. I did so, and when I let the arrow go, 5 seconds later I heard some mad screaming. I put the bow down and ran with my friends to go see what the screaming was. The next thing I see is a man with an arrow in his foot. It kinda looked like the scene from Grown Ups when they were playing that bow and arrow game. Anyway, the man told me to call an ambulance, which I did. And later, cops and an ambulance came. I ran back to the bow and I buried it with leaves and dirt. Anyway, me and my friends got away with it and my dad never knew his bow and arrow was gone. We all swore to never talk about it again. I had a sweet, wonderful student who had been in foster care, but his mom worked her ass off to get him back and she did. He had to take a very important city exam and she called me and asked if he passed it. I looked at the grades and saw he did and said so. She burst into tears of joy and that's when I saw I had read the wrong score. He had failed. So I changed his grade to passing. No one knew. That was the only time I ever did that. That could have cost me my license. The weird thing is, when my awful corrupt principal pressured me to change other students' scores so we could raise our pass rate, I refused. I never told anyone what I did for my student. He went into the military, was extremely successful there, has a great wife and kids, so I think I did the right thing. My heart is pounding writing this because I literally haven't told anyone this. So I work at this one store, and I work on the sales floor. But before all that, I was just one person interviewing for a position at the store. Before I arrived for my interview, a friend of mine dared me to interview in a British accent. I'd said I'd do so only if they paid me, and to my surprise, they sent me like $10 through Venmo, which was more than enough for me. I went into the interview with the mindset that I wasn't going to get hired, and they inevitably hired me on the spot. Accent and all. I was nervous because I had already talked to a whole bunch of higher-ups with the accent and decided to just go through with it, thinking it was only going to be a summer job. I was so wrong. It's been like 7 months that I've been working there, and I still use the accent to this day. When people ask me where I'm from, I just tell them my hometown, because I have several Brits from that town whom I grew up with. I almost killed my dog by sitting on it. Every year I write my parents a Christmas card signed by Sarah and Michael. They still have no idea who they are and spend a lot of Christmas Day trying to figure it out. When I was a kid, I used to shit in a tire in the garden because I was scared of getting locked in the toilet. I sharted on a New Year's party bus a few years ago. I thought it was just a fart, but it was a small shotgun blast of fluid. I stayed calm and threw away my undies at the next bar. Luckily, there was little or no shit on the inside of my jeans, and I was able to continue the night with no one aware of my poop crime. Seems like a good time as any to tell this story. When I was a teenager, my parents were divorced, yet lived within walking distance of each other. I would oftentimes walk back and forth between their homes for whatever reason. I got to know a family that lived in the house on the corner of the block my mother lived on. One day as I was passing this house, I noticed a wallet on the ground. I picked it up and opened the wallet. I noticed the address on the ID was the house on the corner and it was the mom of the family, a very nice lady. Me, being a teenager, took all of the money out of the wallet, about $50. I then went back to the home and returned the wallet, explaining I found it down the street. The mother was very relieved and grateful. What always weighed on me is a few weeks later I passed the corner house as I often did, and the lady stopped me. She wanted to thank me for returning the wallet and hand me a $50 bill. I tried to refuse it, but she insisted. I was rewarded for stealing. While it's not a big secret, it is something I always think about for some reason. I never really had the heart to tell anyone the story. My first car accident back in high school was not because I swerved to miss a deer like I told my dad and the police. I actually tried to pull the emergency brake and do a 180 while going 50 miles an hour downhill. Had I gone off the other side of the road, I would have gone down about a 50-foot hill and into the river. That was the last time I ever tried anything like that. There just so happened to be deer tracks in the mud near the ditch where I ended up. I avoided a ticket and my dad paid to fix my car. I have never told him the truth in the 15+ years since. When I was younger, I was at my friend's house sledding. He had to leave with his family, but I kept sledding. I lost control and ran over a baby pine tree they had planted earlier in the year. A tree they had planted in remembrance of my friend's grandma passing away that year. I'd snapped the tree when I hit it, so I just snuck it in the snow and left. Weeks later, and it warms up enough that the snow melts and the tree falls over. They were devastated when they discovered their tree was broken with no explanation as to how it happened. Once me, my cousin, and my older brother were playing football, like passing to each other. I accidentally kicked my cousin with the ball kinda hard, making him go cry to my aunt. He claimed it was hurting really bad. I said my bro did it because I didn't want to be in trouble. My bro was a pretty strong person, and my mom said if he had kicked my cousin with a ball, he might be really hurt. I said he did, then it was still hurting my cousin, so we went to the doctors nearby. Apparently he was good, but everyone thought it was broken or something because my bro is such a strong kid and he kicks the ball hard. My cousin was quite young at the time, too. I never told anyone I hit him, but I probably should have. Also, my cousin was being kinda dramatic. My father-in-law was so awful that I used to spit in his tea or food and watch with glee as he consumed it. I regret it now, but it was a long time ago and I have grown up since. My mate got bird shit in his sandwich and thought it was mayo and ate it. I still haven't told him 13 years later. I have a secret sister that no one knows about. We were matched via Ancestry.com. Turns out my dad cheated on my mom 40-something years ago. That woman got pregnant but didn't tell my dad, so he has no idea that he has another daughter. I took a shit downstairs so my parents wouldn't hear me, but to my surprise the flush was broken. I just remembered my mom told me that the flush downstairs was broken. So I started panicking. I was struggling to tell my parents that I shat on the toilet and the flush is broken, so I started asking Google. It was around 11 p.m. and I found a solution. I get a bucket, fill it up with water, then you put the water inside the bowl, and do that a couple of times, it should flush. Since I didn't have a bucket, I used my mom's cooking pot. Man, holy shit, that was the most eventful night of my life. I was fixing up a house for a friend and found $100,000 hidden in a wall. I kept the money as the house owner died. To be clear, that wasn't the money of my friend. I used to wear my sister's clothes, I'm a guy, and would be turned on by it. I told my parents I failed college. In reality, I dropped out half a year earlier. When my brother passed away, he had a Google Voice phone number. I would log into his account every month and listen to the wailing cries of my mother who left voicemails. This went on for 2 years before she stopped calling it. And that's when I finally let the account suspend itself from inactivity. She will never know I did that. Once, my friend was sleeping, and he doesn't sleepwalk. But one night he had one of those dreams where he had to piss, and so he sleepwalks to his trash can, opens it, and takes a piss. He didn't realize until he got home from school that day. Our apartment burnt down and even our pets died. It was my sister's fault, but she doesn't know it. The insurance guy knew that the insurance wouldn't pay for it, so my mom had to bribe him with money so he would tell the insurance company that it wasn't our fault. I almost killed my family dog. My parents think she almost died of anemia, but really, she got sick from eating a tray full of pot brownies I left on my bed. I went in a camp out a long time ago with a bunch of people. Everyone went hiking, but I sprained my ankle, so me and a couple friends stayed back. We were young, so we played some kind of imaginary game. My friends hid inside a super big expensive tent, and I found a stick that I could barely hold above my head and threw it at the tent to scare my friends. The stick went right through the tent, breaking it and popping 2 air mattresses. Luckily, no one got hurt. I cost whoever's tent it was a lot of money and didn't tell anyone. My friends had saw me near the tent after they got out to investigate. It was super windy at the time, so I said that I saw a stick fall out of a tree. This is also the story I told the adults as well. When I was young, I dropped an elbow on my Game Boy because I was mad at Contra and smashed the screen. Immediately started sobbing, told my parents I had fallen and hit the screen on the corner of the counter and hit my head. They believed me and replaced it. For years, I have kept a secret that no one around me suspects. While traveling abroad, I saved the life of a stranger during a road accident late at night. No one else was there, and after calling for help and making sure help was on the way, I left without leaving my name. Back home, I never mentioned it, keeping this anonymous act of bravery for myself. A silent memory of the night I may have changed the course of someone's life.